You text them, no response. You call, voicemail. They cancel plans last minute, and when you finally see them, they act like everything's perfectly normal. You're sitting there wondering if you did something wrong, if you're reading too much into it, if maybe you're the problem, and then you try harder. You give more. You become more available, and somehow they pull back even further. It's like you're playing a game where the rules change every time you think you figured them out. At Quiet Psychology, we explore the hidden patterns in human behavior that most people never notice. We're here to help you understand what's really happening beneath the surface. Here's what nobody tells you about avoidant attachment. The more you chase, the less they want you. The more you prove your worth, the less valuable you become. It sounds backwards, right? But there's a psychological mechanism at play that flips the entire script. And once you understand it, everything changes. Think about this. An avoidant person operates from a core belief system that says closeness equals danger. Not consciously, but deep in their emotional wiring. Their ego, their entire sense of self is built on one foundation. I don't need anyone. I'm fine alone. I'm self-sufficient. That's not just a preference. That's their identity. And when you come in offering love, support, and connection, you're not giving them a gift. You're threatening the very story they tell themselves about who they are. Let me show you how this actually works in real life. Picture Sarah and Marcus. Sarah is wildly successful, independent, values her space. Marcus is completely into her. He texts her every morning, always wants to make plans, tells her she's amazing. And Sarah, she starts creating distance. Not because she doesn't like him, but because his pursuit is suffocating something inside her. His need for her confirms her worst fear that if she lets someone close, they'll consume her independence. So she pulls away. Marcus tries harder. Sarah pulls back more. Classic avoidant anxious dance. But here's where it gets interesting. What if Marcus did the complete opposite? What if he stopped validating her ego? See, an avoidance ego thrives on one thing, being the one who cares less, being the one in control, being the prime. Their entire emotional system is designed to keep them elevated, protected, unreachable. When you worship them, when you make them the center of your universe, you're actually feeding the very mechanism that keeps them distant. You're confirming what they already believe. I'm better off alone because people become needy. Here's what most people miss. The way to reach an avoidant isn't through more love. It's through challenging the fortress they've built. And that fortress, it's made entirely of ego. Let that sink in for a second. When you subtly hurt an avoidant's ego, not through cruelty but through indifference to their usual patterns, something shifts. You're no longer playing by their rules. You're no longer the pursuer in their script. And suddenly their entire internal narrative gets disrupted. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're dating someone avoidant. They ghost you for 3 days. In the past, you would have texted, asked if everything's okay, maybe even apologized for something you didn't do. But this time, when they finally reach out with some casual, "Hey, what's up?" you don't respond with relief, you respond with, "Oh, hey, been busy. Catch up later." And you actually mean it. You're not playing games. You're genuinely invested in your own life. What happens next is fascinating. That avoidant person who felt completely secure in their position suddenly feels something unfamiliar, uncertainty. Their ego, which was built on being the one who needs less, takes a hit, and here's the psychological twist. That hit to their ego creates the exact opening you need. But here's the thing you need to understand. This isn't about manipulation. This is about refusing to play a role in someone else's avoidance pattern. Think about the typical dynamic. An avoidant person creates distance. You react by trying to close it. They create more distance. Try even harder. What's really happening? You're validating their worldview. You're proving that people are clingy, that relationships are suffocating, that their independence is constantly under threat. Your pursuit gives them permission to keep avoiding. So what do? You stop participating in that pattern. You stop making their avoidance comfortable. Let's get tactical here. When an avoidant cancels plans, most people either get upset or immediately try to reschedule. Both reactions center the avoidant person. They get to see your disappointment or they get to watch you work for their time. Instead, you say something like, "No worries, I've got other things going on." And then you actually do those things. You don't sit around waiting, you don't punish them with silence. You genuinely redirect your energy. Here's where it gets really interesting. An avoidance ego is secretly fragile. It's built on the belief that they're self-sufficient, that they don't need validation, that they're above the emotional messiness of connection. But underneath that, there's a human being who actually does want to matter. They've just learned to suppress that need because needing felt dangerous at some point in their past. When you stop making them the center, when you show through your actions that your life is full and meaningful with or without them, their ego takes a very specific kind of hit. It's not about making them feel worthless. It's about making them realize they're not as essential to your happiness as they assumed. And that realization, it cracks something open. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Take the story of Jennifer and Alex. Alex had a classic avoidant pattern, hot and cold, inconsistent, always keeping Jennifer at arm's length. Jennifer spent months trying to prove she was worth his consistency. She was understanding when he needed space. She never pressured. She was basically the perfect partner for an avoidant, which is exactly why he kept her in that limbo state. Then Jennifer stopped, not out of strategy, but out of exhaustion. She started saying no to last-minute plans. She stopped responding immediately to his texts. She started dating other people. And something strange happened. Alex's behavior completely shifted. Suddenly, he was the one initiating. He was the one making concrete plans. He was the one expressing fear of losing her. What changed? Jennifer stopped feeding his ego. She stopped being the sure thing that allowed him to maintain his avoidant position. But here's what most people miss about this dynamic. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's not a tactic. It's a fundamental shift in how you see yourself in the relationship. Think about this. When you're pursuing an avoidant, you're essentially saying, your comfort with distance is more important than my need for connection. You're sacrificing your own emotional reality to accommodate theirs, and on some level, they sense that. They sense that you'll bend, that you'll wait, that you'll accept whatever scraps of connection they offer. And that knowledge, that certainty about your position, that's what allows them to stay comfortably avoided. The moment you stop bending, the moment you communicate through your actions, that you have standards, that you won't accept inconsistency, that you're prepared to walk away, their ego can't handle it because their ego was built on the assumption that they're the valuable one, the one people chase, the one who gets to set all the terms. Here's a psychological principle at work. Avoidants are attracted to challenge, not drama, not chaos, but genuine self-possession in another person. They're drawn to people who don't need them because those people feel safe. There's no risk of being consumed, no risk of losing themselves. But here's the paradox. They're also terrified of being with someone who doesn't need them because that threatens their value. So what do? You walk a very specific line. You show interest without desperation. You show care without sacrifice. You show up without chasing. Let me give you a concrete example. An avoidant sends you a breadcrumb text after ignoring you for days, thinking about you. Most people respond with either enthusiasm or wounded pride. Both keep you in the reactive position. Instead, you respond authentically. That's nice to hear. Been thinking about a lot myself lately. You're not punishing them. You're not playing coy. You're just not making their attention the highlight of your week. That response does something crucial. It doesn't give them the ego boost they're looking for. It doesn't confirm their position as the prize. It treats their attention as pleasant but not essential. And that subtle shift, it changes everything. Here's where people get this wrong, though. They think this is about being cold or withholding. It's not. It's about being genuine. It's about actually building a life where you're not waiting for an avoidant person to decide you're worth consistent effort. Think about the deeper pattern here. Avoidants learned early that needing people led to disappointment, so they built an identity around not needing anyone. Their ego became their protection. I'm fine alone isn't just a statement, it's armor. And when you come at that armor with more love, more patience, more understanding, you're not breaking through. You're just confirming why the armor is necessary. But when you stop trying to break through, when you simply live your life with quiet confidence, that's when the armor starts to feel less like protection and more like a prison. Here's what happens psychologically. An avoidant who's used to being chased suddenly finds themselves in unfamiliar territory. They're not being pursued. They're not being made to feel needed, and that creates cognitive dissonance. Their ego says, I don't need anyone. But their experience says, wait, this person doesn't seem to need me either. And that feels wrong somehow. That discomfort, that's the crack. That's where actual connection becomes possible. Now let me explain something that changes how you see this entire dynamic. Avoidants don't just fear intimacy, they fear being ordinary. They fear being like everyone else who needs connection, who gets hurt, who becomes vulnerable. Their entire identity is wrapped up in being different, being stronger, being above the messiness of emotion. When you pursue them desperately, you're reinforcing that identity. You're the needy one, and they're the evolved one who doesn't succumb to such base needs. Your pain validates their superiority. Your longing confirms their special status. Every time you reach for them and they pull away, they get a little hit of satisfaction that proves they're not like other people. Here's where it gets fascinating. The moment you stop giving them that validation, the moment you stop playing the role of the desperate pursuer, their entire identity framework starts to crumble. 'Cause now they're standing there watching you thrive, watching you move on, watching you genuinely not need them. And suddenly they're not special anymore. They're just alone. Let me walk you through what's happening in their mind during the shift. At first, when you back off, they feel relief. Finally, they think, someone who gets it, someone who isn't going to suffocate me. They might even feel a slight ego boost because they interpret your distance as respect for their boundaries. But then something changes. Days pass, maybe weeks, and you're still not chasing. You're not checking in constantly. You're not trying to win them back. You're just living your life, posting about your adventures, mentioning new people you've met, genuinely moving forward. And that's when the doubt creeps in. They start wondering if maybe they misread the situation. Maybe you weren't that interested after all. Maybe they're not as irresistible as they thought. Maybe, and this is the big one, maybe you found someone better, someone more available, someone easier. Their ego, which was so comfortable in the position of being pursued, suddenly feels vulnerable because the script is flipped. Now they're the ones thinking about you. They're the ones checking if you viewed their posts. They're the ones wondering what you're doing and who you're with. Here's what most people miss. This isn't about making them jealous. This is about removing the dynamic that made avoidance comfortable. When they were being chased, they had all the power. They could engage or withdraw based entirely on their comfort level. Your pursuit was predictable. Your availability was guaranteed. They could take you for granted because you'd already shown you'd wait. But now they don't know where they stand, and for an avoidant, that uncertainty is deeply uncomfortable. It forces them to actually feel. It forces them to confront the question they've been avoiding. Do I actually want this person in my life? So what do you do with this knowledge? You stop organizing your emotional life around the comfort level. You stop waiting for them to decide you're worth consistent effort. You stop proving yourself to someone who's fundamentally unavailable. Instead, you make a radical choice. You choose yourself not as a strategy to win them back, but as a genuine commitment to your own well-being. You start going to that class you've been putting off. You reconnect with friends you've been neglecting. You pursue opportunities you've been ignoring. You build a life that's so full and so rich that their inconsistency becomes genuinely unappealing. And here's the beautiful thing that happens. As you build that life, as you genuinely invest in yourself, you start to see the relationship differently. You start to realize that their avoidance isn't about you. It's about them. It's about their wounds, their fears, their limitations. And while you can have compassion for that, you don't have to sacrifice yourself on the altar of their healing. This shift in perspective does something powerful to the dynamic. You stop being the person begging for crumbs. You become the person offering a genuine connection, but only if it's mutual, only if it's healthy, only if it adds value to your life rather than draining it. When an avoidant senses this shift, when they realize you're not playing the old game anymore, something inside them changes. The part of them that was comfortable in their avoidance gets uncomfortable. The part of them that took you for granted suddenly recognizes they might lose something valuable. Let me be clear about something. This doesn't always lead to a fairy tale ending. Sometimes an avoidant person isn't ready or willing to do the work required for a healthy relationship. Sometimes they'll let you go rather than face their fear of intimacy. And that's actually valuable information because it tells you that no amount of pursuing, no amount of patience, no amount of understanding would have changed the outcome. But sometimes, and this is where the magic happens, your refusal to participate in their avoidance pattern creates the space for real growth. When they can no longer rely on your pursuit to maintain their position, when they have to actually choose you rather than just accepting your attention, they're forced to confront their own patterns. They're forced to ask themselves, why am I so afraid of closeness? Why do I push away people who care about me? Why do I need to maintain control through distance? And sometimes those questions lead to real change. Here's what that change looks like. An avoidant who's genuinely shifting will start to communicate differently. They'll initiate more. They'll make concrete plans and actually follow through. They'll start to share more about their internal world. They'll stop disappearing for days without explanation. They'll start treating the relationship like something they value rather than something they tolerate. But here's the key. They'll only do this work if they're genuinely motivated. And the only thing that motivates an avoidant to face their fear of intimacy is the real possibility of losing something they've come to value. Your pursuit doesn't create that possibility. Your absence does. So what do? You stop making yourself small to make them comfortable. You stop accepting breadcrumbs and calling it a meal. You stop waiting by the phone hoping they'll text. You stop canceling your plans in case they decide they want to see you. Instead, you build boundaries, not walls, but clear lines about what you will and won't accept. You communicate those boundaries calmly and clearly, and then you enforce them through your actions. When they cancel last minute, you don't have a dramatic reaction. You simply make other plans and mean it. When they disappear for days, you don't panic or pursue. You continue living your life and give them the space to figure out what they want. This approach does something crucial. It removes you from the role of emotional caretaker. You're no longer managing their comfort with intimacy. You're no longer absorbing their anxiety about closeness. You're simply being a person with your own needs, your own boundaries, your own life. And for an avoidant whose ego has been built on being the independent one, the strong one, the one who needs less, seeing someone else embody those qualities creates a profound shift. Suddenly, they're not the special one anymore. You are. You're the one who's genuinely self-sufficient. You're the one who's comfortable alone. You're the one who doesn't need them to complete you. It's not cruel. It's not manipulative. It's simply you refusing to play a role in their drama. And in that refusal, you create the possibility for something real. The obsession doesn't come from making them feel bad. It comes from making them see you differently. When you stop being the sure thing, when you stop being the person who will always be there no matter how they treat you, you become interesting again. You become someone worth pursuing. You become someone they might actually lose. And that fear of loss, that recognition that you might not wait forever, that understanding that you have options and standards and self-respect, that's what cracks their avoidant shell. Not your love, not your patience, not your understanding, your willingness to walk away. So stop trying to love them into healing. Stop trying to be so perfect that they can't help but choose you. Stop shrinking yourself to fit into their comfort zone. Instead, expand, grow, thrive. Build a life so compelling that their inconsistency becomes genuinely unacceptable. That's not manipulation. That's self-respect. And ironically, self-respect is the one thing an avoidant can't resist because it's the one thing their ego can't dismiss or devalue. It's the one thing that makes them question whether they're actually as independent as they thought. And in that question, real connection finally becomes